We were described as the worst England touring side in the history of any sport.
I've never played that drunk before.
Hello everybody, welcome to Paris. Welcome to this week's Le Petit Pod, brought to you by our very good friends at Continental Tyres. The sun is high. The semi-finals are upon us. It's been a very quiet build-up, as you can imagine. The Lord is alongside, as is the great man who skippered his side to victory in 2007. Is it quite nostalgic for you coming back to Paris, or does it feel like a lifetime ago and you've done it every year since?
You know what's scary is it's 16 years ago. I mean, it makes me realise how old we're getting.
Oh, don't say that.
I say I, sorry, not we.
Yeah.
You're still quite young.
I Botox and moisturiser on a daily basis, holding it together.
His paper round was slightly different.
Mine was downhill wind assisted, unlike others.
It is pretty special. I mean, getting out to Stade de France for the first time, this would have been the first time in 16 years since we played there.
Is it really?
Yeah.
And how was it? Was it sort of?
There was less pressure.
Yeah. You said a bit more comfortably.
No, it was pretty special. And it's an amazing venue, and it means a lot to us and our group. But it's a lifetime ago.
Yeah. Still trading on it though, like this man alongside.
Yeah, it's not quite the backdrop of Marseille.
No, it's not,
is
it?
It's the building ground of the Olympic scene at the moment.
You are at our hotel. This is where the Saffers are staying.
Yes, exactly. South African budgets need another couple of zeros.
Zars don't go far here in Euroland.
You've had a quiet week. Would you like to apologise down the barrel of the camera? Would you like to double that?
I am not going to apologise for people reading rubbish reporting.
Okay.
It said last week, and I did say this, that in the last World Cup, I said there's no way, going into the final, there is no way South Africa deserved to win this tournament.
Yes.
Because they had played absolutely appalling. Would you disagree?
It wasn't expected, even by Russ's account.
But then,
so you got validation from.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Right.
The point was around. It only takes one game.
Yeah.
And everyone's expecting us to get beat this week. And I was saying maybe we can harness that 2019 plus the history we've got there to make this our one game and get us one further. So that was the first point. And then they went into my stats against France and how France outplayed them. I feel they did outplay them. That's a point of view. You can choose to. They did outplay them, and my point was that, but yet South Africa find a way of staying in the game, and that is what they do in World Cups. That's why they've won 3 of them, and only one final they've scored a try in, which was obviously when they pumped us. And I accept that they pumped us and they were a better team on the day.
Yeah.
So I feel that I've been misrepresented. So a few
what in
places,
2023?
I know, because it sells but more clickbaits and papers by if you say something catastrophic. But that's what England have to be prepared for this weekend. Yeah. If it is going to be rainy, they know they have to deal with the what's going to come aerially, and France didn't on 2 occasions, and they paid the price of it. They lost one line out. Jesse Creel, beautiful grubber kick through, and they conceded another. Yeah. And this is the thing is going forward. You know, I spoke to a guy who picked me up from the airport today, French guys, like, have you been following the World Cup? And obviously there's been things about Ben O'Keefe and obviously like potential yellow cards, potential charge down. And he said, look, they only need to look at themselves. If they'd have dealt with those 2 balls, they wouldn't have lost. And I was like, oh, from a Frenchie straight, like literally just called it as is. We've got to move on. There was enough there for France to still win the game. Yeah.
I walked down with 20 minutes to go down to the pitch, thinking it's done.
Did you really?
I did. I thought it was just too much. France, they made yards on every ball carry.
Yeah.
It's the first team that's really put us back in the tackle and gotten so much front football, and the clever little darts over the top. So they had us scrambling quite a bit. I mean, we needed that. When they scored that first try, I thought, we got trouble. But then we sort of got that kick try, which was a lucky bounce, and it sort of worked for us the early game. But man, we were under pressure the whole game. And then somehow they hung on for dear life.
Can I say one thing, which is I think most people would agree it was probably one of the best rugby matches, certainly World Cup matches they've ever seen. But no one's actually mentioned the fact that if you look back now, Jalabert kicked the ball backwards into touch. There was a scrum from a mark.
I still don't understand why Jalabert went off.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, has Ramos ever played 10?
I don't know.
But to make that choice in the heat of your biggest 20 minutes of rugby ever, 15 minutes of rugby ever, There was some bizarrity. There was some very Frenchness in there.
Let's come on to this weekend, though, because I think the bookies have got South Africa with a 13-point start.
Yeah, I think that's too high.
You have battered England in your last meeting. You've battered the All Blacks in the last meeting. We'll obviously talk New Zealand and Argentina. Is this your tournament to lose?
Oh, I just hate that talk. I think we've turned ourselves
Joel
into that
Stransky
team.
says it is.
I think we've turned ourselves into that team that, I'll never forget, I was sitting in the council for SA Rugby when Rassie was given the job 5.5 years ago. And his whole plan was about winning this World Cup 2023 and having a crack at 2019, but 2019 wasn't part of the plan. So obviously winning that one and then having another 4 years, this team is way better. It's more experienced. It's got a freshness of these young, exciting backline players that have sort of joined the squad. When we lost a beast, we got an ox, and it's so
lost a beast, gained an ox.
And we've just been able to become a better team that's probably more connected and has just come to the party every time the pressure's been there. So yeah, we spoke about it earlier, Tins. So if you've got to hope that South Africa rocks up on their day, and then I think because France were unbelievable on the weekend, and yet South Africa managed to get to that level, stay at that level, and then find a gear to get there. And I don't know how many teams would have been able to play as well as France in a playoff like that.
Yeah.
If England can raise their game and South Africa for some reason could have a bad day or something happens and there's a red card or whatever. I mean, you look at the final where you lost your title, you lost Carl Sinclair in the first 10, 15 minutes. It had a significant impact on that final as well.
Yeah.
So you just don't know what happens in playoff rugby. On the day, anything can happen. But yes, we've got a team that can go.
And you've been part of some pretty formidable Springboks sides. I think particularly that Lions series in 2009. But I was trying to think on the way here, I cannot think of a team that has so much physicality for it as this lot. I mean, you think bomb squad, but you think wherever you look, can you think of a team that has not necessarily played as good a rugby, but has had as much muscle and sort of a fear factor?
No, I mean, but that's the South African history. I mean, that's.
But I think this goes above what we've seen from them.
It's not as much pure and out violence as the early 2000s South African
If you had
teams,
to think about most spoken words in South Africa, it's number one, biltong.
Yeah.
And number two, physicality.
but this is, I mean, they are preaching
this
from,
is all the
from both of those.
Yeah, it's all been brewing throughout this World Cup. Every coach has been taking a little pop shot here, pop shot there. Obviously, Foster took us over after they played Italy and put 97. He's like, well, it depends. And after we'd had the classic Ireland South Africa game, which was an incredible game, everyone spoke about, and it's completely against what apparently we want as a sport because it was physicality on a level that's
Is that from
never.
Is that from Jakarta? Where's that?
Yeah, that's a bit of a
That's
mix.
Indian. Yeah, that's
I don't know what I got caught.
Even bobbed his head a bit.
Yeah, I got caught in a movie quote somewhere along the line, and then so it was a bit Van Damme-ish / Arnie /
Yeah.
and everyone raved about that guy. And he was trying to compare, but you've just pumped someone by 97. That's also not what we want to see. Yes, you want to see. Whereas I think if you then look fast forward to last weekend's game of theirs against Ireland, that is what you want to see because it was just skill level of the highest order, discipline, still had all that physicality, and it had a blend. And that's the beauty of rugby. No two games are the same, and you have to embrace whatever comes. I think historically, England versus South Africa is always very physical. There's been a couple of occasions either way that doesn't quite go, but most square root of everything that comes out is physical contest in your face. England have got to, with the 10, 12 players from 4 years ago, got to be carrying some hurt. Saw that last week with the New Zealand Ireland game and all the tweets or the WhatsApp messages we've now seen and whether they're true or not. But people have those emotional memories hang.
Are you talking about the Sam Kane, Richie McCaw, Peter O'Mahony?
Yeah. And and that's how you live. If you live in that line, then when it comes back the other way, you got to take it. And England, we talked about it earlier in terms of the coin toss, Farrell not looking at Sia and all these little bits that then got added up and go along, and they've got to come out. We saw the press conference where if it gets physical, it gets physical. If it becomes a battle, it becomes a battle. That is ultimately why this is called a test match rugby.
South Africans get worked up pretty easy. I mean, so you say anything that's negative towards the Springboks,
I hadn't spotted that.
they get, and you'll notice the coaches who are smart enough don't throw bombs in the week before. They don't give South Africa extra content
They
to
leave
work
it to
against.
former players on
well,
separate
I mean,
pods.
Well,
and
now
that's the
with
thing.
how instantaneously it can be.
But it's
put
just
out there.
we can make a small thing a big thing. I mean, some guy asked me who was the dirtiest international player I ever played against, and I couldn't think of a person. And then I thought back, I've never seen anyone in my time in the Springboks. I've never seen any opposition player ever attempt to hit one of our players, because I think they
Why
were
would
just
you?
they were just, I guess, smart enough to know you didn't want to anger them more than necessary, and they were already angry, more than angry enough when they ran onto the field. So I think that's where South Africans love a little bait.
The big surprise, I suppose, for South Africa is that Rassie has named an unchanged team.
First time in 4 years.
Just
Yeah.
forever finding a button to press.
He goes
and
back to
pressing it.
5-3. It's almost like innovating again.
Yeah.
And then he picks the same team twice in a row, and it's like, wow, this guy. You actually just never know with him.
Are you very happy with your lot, though?
Yeah.
You wouldn't change too much of that?
No, that would be my 23.
Okay. England obviously have tweaked a bit. So Marl and Martin start. Freddie Stewart, Air Stewart, comes back in at 15. It's interesting that they've put Ellis onto the bench. They've put Ollie Chesham onto the bench as well. But otherwise, it's fairly much as you would have it. What do you make of it?
Well, I think they've gone with as big as they can and as experienced as they can, really, haven't they?
Why Ellis and Chesham on the bench to try and
I don't know. Is there a redemption piece for the two? For Coley and obviously Joe. Did Joe get on in the last fight?
Yeah, he came on.
Year?
Funnily enough, in that final, England's scrum actually got going in the second half a bit, and they brought George Cruz off the bench and put Courtney to blindside. So you forget about that because by then the box had gone.
So I think there's a bit of redemption within that. Obviously, George Martin, big un coming in. The reports have been outstanding the way he's training and everything else. So, I mean, I was having a chat with John about this earlier, in the fact that I think hopefully Borthers is going to do a Rassie on Rassie. So Rassie they call a scrum off a mark kick in that game. And then Rassie explains it as because we don't want France too fresh. We want them to actually be fatigued from the set piece side of the game, which we enjoy. So I was like, well, pick a team and don't plan on getting any set pieces. Like, ball stays in play.
Yeah.
Take these guys to a place where they obviously don't want to go. Because they want you to. They want to beat you up. They want to maul you. They want to physically get advantage.
So don't kick directly into the 22. You've got to slide it in.
And just change. We've got so many good options as kickers with Elliot Daly, with obviously Faz, Mitchell. March can kick if he wants to. We've got those abilities. It's a shame that I don't think we'd have played Marcus Smith if he was available anyway. But if you had another kicker like him, I mean, you could work a back three where you never put him really in the shots fired area. But that's where I think that's what we've got to do, is do something that they don't expect. Bring that physicality. But what's brilliant is our physicality defensively is back. It's been brilliant. I mean, Fiji, they were...
Your loose trio is a big part of that.
They bashed some people. Like Tom Cruise flying like an X-Set missile. And we need that. We're going to need that. John talked about this against France. First time they've probably been dominated in ball carrying in terms of getting over the top of them. Now England have got to feed off that. We shouldn't really be talking about it. I think it was 93 dominant carries that France had against. I'd be talking about that stat if I was Rassie, and just throwing those little things out there. So just to have a little chink in the mindset. But that's what you should be saying to the players, to pump some air in their tyres and let manoeuvre. I mean, there's so many good matchups.
Can I ask you? I know battle lines are drawn, and we're beginning to take sides here. But can I ask you, as someone who knows a lot of these Sarries boys very well, what you make of the noise around Owen Farrell at the moment? How much you know of him? How much you've played with him, etc.
I played with Faz. He's I was saying to Tins, he's an unbelievably great game manager. Warrior, most competitive guy you'll meet, and I think that's why. I mean, everything he does is at an intensity that is hard to match from a teammate's point of view. So he's if you had your house on it and someone had to kick a pressure goal, he's one of the guys who would probably top the list. He's just got this steely resolve, but with that intensity comes friction. And so I think that I've always found this, and again we're talking about the past here, but this indecisiveness around where Faz should play for England. I mean, look what he's done for Saracens at 10. And he could have and should have done that for England at 10 for the last 100 tests.
Right.
And so I guess there's a lot of other good players, but he's incredible at 10, and his game management is such a big thing. So if it was me, I would have looked at what this young kid started doing at Saracens and his game winning ability, and I would have stuck that straight into England.
It's funny that because you could throw that back to South Africa about Manny Lilbok in terms of they've stuck with him.
Yes.
When everyone's on the outside is going, their kick rate 79% or whatever, and the first 2 weeks of the tournament they have to deal with the fact that he can't hit a barn door. How are you going to, they've stuck with him and they've got the results that they want, and they'll move forward, and they're staying with that on the move forward side. They've always got Andre Pollard on the bench to come on and manage the game if it takes a turn for the worst, or if it turns into that fully attritional game, he can come on and manage that. And I think your direct comparison, we've sort of floated around.
But the tricky part with Owen is that he's captain, so he's had to move around the back line. Whereas with Andre, you're either starting or you're on the bench, or you're back home in Leicester.
Yeah. It's a very interesting point. I mean, it's a big day, obviously, a big night for every single player within both squads. But you do feel when you talk about Lilbok and you talk about Farrell, it sort of feels like an enormous day for both of them, given the noise that surrounds them as well. Good luck to both of those two. As we look ahead to the semi-finals, we are going to pick one player from each country that we think could make the difference this weekend. This is for those of you who are picking your fantasy teams and are going for maximum points. This is Tommy's Ones to Watch, brought to you by Tommy Hilfiger. Who will be the star man? Who will earn their stripes? Who will keep their nation's dreams alive? So let's do New Zealand, Argentina first of all. For New Zealand, who would be the one that you would stick in lights?
For me, from New Zealand, Will Jordan. I just think everything really, when they're in tough times, he'll break that tackle and he's a momentum changer. That's how I'm going to put it.
Are you going a fast, snazzy electric back, or would you like to pick a gunter?
I think it's the guy on the weekend is going to be Ardie Savea.
Strong.
Yeah, he's been incredible, by the way. Not arguing that.
For Los Pumas?
Carreras, whether it be 10 or on the wing.
Okay, nice. Hedging. I like that. Split your pot.
Having got to watch quite a bit of them in the Premiership, obviously for Gloucester, he's been a revelation, but having him at 10 and on the feet, he's so creative, and they're going to need that.
Okay.
I reckon Boffelli's going to be important.
Yes, long range.
He's going to have to kick absolutely everything, and they're going to have to give him opportunity, and he could be the key.
19 of the 23 for the Pumas have beaten the All Blacks before, which is something. It's something to cling to. South Africa. Who is your boy?
In the first team, in the team that starts, I think, and he was that guy last week, even though I didn't get man of the match, but I do think Jesse Kriel's going to be integral.
Yeah.
In the beginning, but there's one guy that just keeps on delivering every single time he comes on, and that's Kwagga Smit.
Yeah.
He just.
I heard about that battle points thing.
It's unreal when you look into the stats and the detail about how much this guy gets through, and so he has an unbelievable impact on a game for half an hour.
People are so mesmerised by his face they forget to play rugby.
Yeah.
Like where's he point?
He makes your nose look unbelievable.
He went to the same school as me.
Old Ski Sunday.
I've got so much respect for him.
For you, the Bok that England fans should fear the most.
Well, there's quite a few. I think Peter Steftentois.
I thought you'd say that.
I think when he gets on top and when he gets on his game, he's just a nightmare all round. We've got quite a few of those, but
okay. And if it is to happen for those in white, it will be driven by
Manu. It's got to go through Manu. Manu, Delande, Creel as a contest.
Marchand.
Yeah.
Mano, for you, who is the Englishman that gives you a bit of a concern?
Oh,
Bennells.
Ben Hill.
Ben
Bennells.
Earl.
Bennells all day.
Yeah. Fascinating. God, yeah. You begin to tingle already. I know you boys have been there and done it, but when you start going through it like
I'm getting
this,
excited.
yeah.
I'm getting excited because it's a
little bit of rain forecast.
It's exciting because it's nervous as well
Yeah.
from the SA side. They're favourites, and everyone knows
Yeah.
they're favourites.
They should wander
but
through
they don't
without,
want
they
to be
should wander through without
favourites.
any problems at
You know,
all. Isn't that right?
And England wandered in
It's a
favourites
complete
last
reverse
time.
of 4 years ago in the final.
Yeah.
There are your players. Thank you to Tommy Hilfiger for supporting the rugby community. Tommy's new fall campaign is all about celebrating families, and they are giving away the ultimate family trip to a handful of lucky winners. To participate, join Tommy Together membership at tommy.com and shop to win. Right, let's move on. You've made a bit of a mess of it, but it's time to reveal Mystic Mike's predictions for this week. I know you're standing by your beds. This is in partnership with our friends from City Index, the global provider of spread betting and CFD trading. You've offended Wales. You've offended South Africa. Where are we going
Just
this time? Let's
searching
start
out-
with New Zealand.
Searching out all the trolls on
Right.
the internet.
Okay, they're all
It's
flocking
not,
to
it's not difficult.
No. New Zealand first.
I'm going to go New Zealand by 24
Okay.
in the first game. And then I'm going full England redemption, 32-12. But the other way around.
I love what you've done there. And I would turn your DMs off, come about 11 p.m. on Saturday night.
By the way, on the other side of it, that's all from here.
Yeah.
Head says South Africa by 8. But
Yeah.
I'm going 32-12, full redemption.
Believe.
I've just seen it. Talk to Smitty. They're nervous.
Yeah.
They're nervous.
Can you do this just so we can clip it up in case? Give us your predictions.
I do think New Zealand by plenty, and South Africa by 8.
We shall see. We shall see. Just before we finish that mess up, a quick shout out to the performer of the week, KTBFFH. I have no idea what that stands for, but Steve Smith is his pseudonym, who is top of the leaderboard. Download the Super Brew app to see the runners and riders and get involved with, 10 minutes of the competition left to go, if that is your thing. That is it for this week's Le Petit Pod. Remember that our subscription podcast, The Lock-In, is available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Thank you to the one or two of you who've downloaded that. We've generated £6.44
Well
through
done.
our subscription service during the World Cup,
Well done.
which is going to buy us a sandwich. Here are all the stories from behind the scenes that we can't talk about on here. Go and have a look at The Lock-In if that is your thing. Thank you to Continental Tyres. Enjoy the semi-finals. We'll see you on the other side.
What's the opposite of humble? Haskell. Get Haskell.
This is my moment.